Cinderella. It's a story that's been told and retold time and time again, but has it been adequately represented in video games? Phoneix Games thinks not. As the publisher of all these fantastic PlayStation 2 games, they had a lot to live up to with Cinderella. How could they possibly port that magic to the PlayStation 2? Well, oh my... Look at the cover! Oh my god! Presenting the incredible runner-up for Game of the Year 2006, Cinderella. Simply click on one of these strange animals floating around, or whatever they are. Select your scene from the cartoon, which is the main flesh of this game, but we'll get to that later. And embark on a fun magical jigsaw puzzles. That's it. Jigsaw puzzles. Say no more. It's not so much a game, more like a deep social commentary on life. It's puzzles. It's shovelware. Next activity, please. Did I just finish this one?
Well done.
This game is so rewarding. But not only jigsaw puzzles, there's also these sadomasochistic animated sliding tile puzzles, where you have to flip things and slide them in. If you can take on this immense challenge, give it a go. It's all worth it for that rewarding well done at the end. Unfortunately, my editing software only goes up to 5 times speed, so this is still going to take a while.
Well done.
That was worth it. Like all good children's activity centres, it of course features a colouring in mode, because it's bloody easy to program. I didn't say that. No, they're educational and nourishing. No, really. This is just lazy. Go to any child's TV station website. The place is chock full of these things. Matching puzzles, colouring in, because they are really, really easy to do and give the illusion of being learning games. But these really don't belong on the PS2 of all places. That's pretty much all there is in this entire game, so the only other real things you can do to pass the time are, well, listen to the menu music or do naughty things with the cursor. Prince sure looks happy to see Cinderella. No, but in all seriousness, the one thing you really came to this game for is the cartoon. But this isn't just any cartoon. In fact, if you watch it, you might just grow a beard and die. No, I feel I must stress, this is the worst thing ever animated in the history of the human race.
Listen, the beautiful butterfly still tells us more wonderful stories. Sometimes it's a story about the cat that used to smoke a pipe, or about how a prince was turned into a frog. All sorts of stories. You don't believe me? I'm not lying. That is what it whispered today in my ear. Everyone should listen, even those who doubt. Somewhere in the world there is a country, and in that country there is a city, Rushton. People are always in a hurry, and they are very busy, like hard-working bees. And when sport competitions are on, everybody goes to watch them. Cars race along the streets and planes fly through the blue sky. The city buzzes just as a beehive. Not long ago, in the suburbs of Rushton, lived a good-natured widower with his child, a beautiful young girl. One day he got married, and that is when the trouble started. His new wife was a very haughty woman, and she was lazy and selfish. She had 2 daughters of her own, and they were both very plain and wore gaudy makeup on their faces. They were quite horrible. The young girl was much prettier and cleverer than her stepsisters. This made the stepmother hate her with all her heart. For punishment, she kept the young girl busy by giving her lots of work to do in the house. Soon, the poor young girl was covered in dirt and grime because she never had any spare time to wash her face or even take a bath during the day. That was why they called her Cinderella, because her face was covered in soot from the cold cinders in the fireplace. One beautiful hot day, there was a loud din in the street outside. It was the prince's messenger who had come to announce to the whole city some wonderful news. Listen. Prince Rushton invites all citizens to attend a royal ball tonight. Cinderella's household almost boiled over from the preparations for the ball. The vain sisters bustled about like crazy. They tried on dresses, curled their hair, covered the spots with powder, but for all that, they still looked like frights in dresses. Poor Cinderella spent the whole day running back and forth, waiting on the conceited girls. And when evening came, the stepmother and her daughters climbed into the hire car and went to the prince's castle, leaving at home an unhappy and exhausted Cinderella, all alone. Then, suddenly, a distinguished lady appeared before Cinderella. She had a gentle, beautiful face and charming smile. It was her wonderful fairy godmother, Angela. "I know what you want, my dear child. You would like to go to the ball tonight at the castle, but I don't have a nice dress," cried Cinderella. "Go to the garden and get me the biggest pumpkin." Cinderella went straight outside and chose the biggest pumpkin in the garden. The godmother used her magic wand and turned the pumpkin into a smart carriage, and then used it again to turn Cinderella's dirty old clothes into an elegant ball gown. "Remember to come back home before midnight. When the clock strikes midnight, all of my magic will disappear." Cinderella climbed into the elegant carriage and moments later arrived at the palace doors. She walked timidly up the huge stairs and stepped into the bright ballroom. All the guests immediately turned and looked at her, charmed by her beauty. Cinderella froze from delight. "Who are you, beautiful young lady?" "I cannot tell you just yet," she replied, scarcely believing the prince was talking to her. Suddenly, the clock started to chime the midnight hour. Cinderella, remembering the fairy godmother's warning, wrenched herself from the prince's arms and flew from the castle, leaving one golden slipper on the stairs as she ran. The prince, who was very sad because his new love had disappeared, found the slipper on the stairs. The next morning, the sound of royal trumpets woke the whole city as the prince set out on his search for the mysterious beauty. His messenger knocked on all the doors of the city and said to the women inside, "Good morning, madam. Could you try on this gold slipper?" Unfortunately, the gold slipper was either too large, or too small, or too narrow, or too broad for any of the women's feet. That evening, the exhausted messenger knocked at the door where Cinderella lived. "Does any young ladies, young ladies live here?" Of course, the big fat feet of the two stepdaughters did not fit the golden slipper. "Are these all of your daughters, madam?" Everyone was amazed when it fitted her foot perfectly. At that same moment, Cinderella magically turned back into the princess, and the happy prince immediately asked her to marry him. Less than 3 weeks later, a great wedding was held in the castle, and the whole of Rushton threw a gigantic party. The streets suddenly became empty, the people stopped being in a hurry, and the skyscrapers seemed to smile in the sun.